This is the DAR Today podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Bullmaster Stewart. Well, as many of you know, it's always our goal with this podcast to shout from the rooftops everything that Daughters of the American Revolution are doing in your communities. But what about those DAR members that are in other places besides the United States of America? What then? Well, did you know there are 16 chapters in other countries around the world? Countries like Guam and the United Kingdom and Australia and Japan, just to name but a few. We had the recent opportunity to sit down and talk with the national chair of the Units Overseas Committee and hear about what the members are doing in these countries, who they are, and what it's like to serve in places other than America. I'm excited that we get to hear so much about them today. We'll also have a short, sweet little interview conducted by one of our President General's pages, Paula Eichenbrenner, where she interviews and talks to a young member from Sydney, Australia, about her experiences there and what it's like to be a member serving in a chapter that's so far away. So how are you enjoying your April so far? All of this lovely rain and everything waking up from winter. Did you know that April is National Volunteer Month? Although I think for us DAR members, every month is Volunteer Month. But it's always even sweeter when we can volunteer and do something wonderful in our slippers and jammies. So with that, I want to tell you about a wonderful new project. The DAR Genealogy Preservation Committee is delighted to announce the new Historian General's Marker Card Project. Over 177,000 index cards stored in the Historian General's office have been digitized and are ready to be transcribed. These cards contain a treasure trove about our Revolutionary War soldiers and patriots, about their wives and children, about real daughters, and about historical markers and commemorative markers. And the National Society needs our help to make these records available and online for members. The transcribing is very simple and can be done at home, online by anyone with an internet connection. The great news, the cards are typed and easy to read, which makes it great. To sign up, visit the DAR Genealogy Preservation page or send an email to darprojects@nsdar.org. Once you sign up, you'll receive additional information and training. Imagine transcribing information about one of our founding fathers or even about your own patriot. It'd be quite a rewarding experience to be a part of, and I know they're looking forward to so many of you signing up for this great new opportunity. But enough from me. Let's go ahead and jump right into that interview with the National Chair of the Units Overseas Committee, Shari at Thorne-Sulima. And again, hey, thanks for being with us here today. So Shari Thorne-Sulima, thank you so much for being here with us today. You are the Units Overseas National Chair, and I would love, especially when you think about those people who are newer to DAR or perhaps even just members of the public, would you tell us a little bit about your committee?
We were started back in 1897 when Hawaii was a territory, and that's how Units Overseas got its inception. But of course, we all know that Hawaii became one of our states. Walter Hines Page chapter in London, England is our oldest chapter, and that was founded on November 6, 1925. The Units Overseas Committee comprises 16 chapters in 11 countries and 1 U.S. territory. Our wonderful committee is comprised of 13 members, including this chairman. We have got vice chairs who are topic specific. We've got vice chairs for prospective members, finance, social media, the Units Overseas Luncheon, contests, and these dedicated women are just gung-ho about all things Units Overseas. And I work with the best committee. And everyone says that, but I have the best committee.
But you really do, yes. Tell us a little bit more about what those chapters do. I think a lot of people are curious.
These chapters do pretty much the same thing that their stateside sisters do. They mark graves at cemeteries. They pick up garbage at historic sites and they preserve them. They clean memorial walls. They provide books and uniforms for school students. They sew uniforms for young schoolgirls so that they are able to attend school, because some of the schools in some of these jurisdictions, girls cannot attend school if they're not in uniforms. They knit and crochet baby quilts for U.S. service families. They award good citizen medals. They sponsor American History Awards. They support our U.S. military. They support our veterans, the local fisher houses. They enter DAR contests, and anything pretty much that somebody in the United States of America can do, our units overseas can do it abroad.
Well, I know that there are ways that we can support our units overseas chapters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We need to remember units overseas are most often prohibited from fundraising in the countries where they are located because of the tax regulations, the governmental regulations. DAR in the United States is very privileged that we are able to rely on our 501c3 tax status, but units overseas does not have that. So in order to counteract the fact that they're not able to fundraise, they rely very heavily on associate membership. And you can help by becoming an associate member. Let's say that your patriot hails from Germany, like my patriot does. I'm an associate member of the Palatinate chapter in Germany. Let's say you may have spent a year abroad studying in France. You can join as an associate member of the Rochambeau chapter in France. We've got chapters all over the globe, and you are more than welcome to join absolutely all of these chapters. And if you do, you're eligible to purchase the Units Overseas pin for your ribbon. And you'll notice that there is a place there for a dangle. And you can buy those dangle bars for every single country in which you are an associate member. You're not limited. The only limitation is the number of chapters that we have in the various countries. And right now that's 12. So you can only have 12 of those bars. But by becoming an associate member, your funds are commingled with the dues of those chapter members, and they can do these cleanings and the grave markings and the picking up of the trash and supporting the various service projects that they are doing around the globe. Another way that you can help is by purchasing the lovely Wright Administration Units Overseas pin, and that's available from the DAR store. The funds from those pin sales go to help the committee, and we help out the chapters when the need arises. If there's a financial hardship, we can reach out to that chapter and help them. If they're having some particular problems with prospective membership and applications, we can help them out. So that's why it's very important to purchase those pins and to support Units Overseas, because it's a trickle down to all of our Units Overseas chapters. Now, one of the best ways that you can support our Units Overseas chapters is by attending the wonderful Units Overseas Luncheon and Bazaar that is held on Thursday during Continental Congress. And I will tell you, as soon as you see that registration email coming out from National that you can sign up to attend Continental Congress and register for all of these luncheons and dinners and events, do so, because our luncheon sold out in 2 days last year. And I will tell you why. We have got a fabulous international bazaar. Not only do you get to hear reports from all of our chapter regions, but you get to have the opportunity to go shop at a table that's sponsored by France, where they have sumptuous silk scarves. You can go and shop at the Palatinate Germany chapter. They've got chocolates and gummy bears galore. They have got smokers and nutcrackers and wonderful German mustards. Every single one of our Units Overseas chapters sponsors a table, and they host all of these wonderful products that are only available in their countries. And they invite you to come to the table and shop, and all the funds that they raise will be taken back to service those projects that they like to fund. So again, when you see that notice, sign up, because we can only accommodate 825 guests. And once the tickets are gone, they're gone. Now, we do have an opportunity for shopping only. Let's say, for example, that you want to go to the Historic Preservation or the Virginia or the New York Society luncheon that Thursday. You can purchase a $5 shop-only ticket. And once you're done at your other luncheon, you come and you visit us, and we'll let you in for about an hour, hour and a half worth of shopping. And you can support these chapters. They all bring their associate membership forms.
It's one of the most exciting days. It really is. And bring your cash, right? That's usually a little easier and faster to purchase, because
Yes.
it is absolutely crazy, the amount of people that are at the tables and shopping, but the opportunities are fantastic. And what a great fundraiser. Like you said, for each of those Units Overseas chapters, a place where they can fundraise for their chapters.
And for those of you who do know about the wonderful rum cakes that the Bahamas chapter offers for sale, they are doubling up the number of cakes that they are bringing this year. So fret not, there'll be plenty of cakes for everyone to go around.
I truly am looking forward to that luncheon this year. So tell us, how can we find out more about your committee?
Well, if you go on the DAR website under committees, go to Units Overseas, and on the right-hand side, there is a little button that you can click for all the various things. You can learn about the committee members, see who our vice chairmen are. You can learn about our chapters. Our Units Overseas toolkit was put together by Vice Chairman Carrie Costa, and it is a fabulous resource. It has got information on all 16 of our chapters, a contact email for the chapter regent should you need to get in touch with them, or if for whatever reason there's a problem with your associate membership. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We started off with 1. We've had some come, we've had some go, but right now we stand at 16. Fret not, there are a couple little surprises that we've got coming down the pike in possible new locations. So we hope that you will log in, learn a little bit more about Units Overseas, learn about the committee, learn about these chapters, find one that is of interest to you. And if you really don't want to become an associate member, which we hope you will, maybe support one of their chapter projects. These chapters have various and wide service projects that they support that you can learn about in the Daughters Abroad newsletter, which is also on our webpage. And if you are in love with knitting or crocheting and you want to do a baby quilt, maybe do a quilt, crochet or knit a quilt and send it to the Palatinate chapter in Germany. If by chance sewing is your thing and you want to sew a little girl's uniform, check out the Guam chapter, because they are doing those little pillowcase dresses for the young ladies to be able to go to school.
I love the ideas of what to send. I love the idea too of you can just send money and they will be able to use that in their work of their chapters. My wonderful daughter, Paris, has lived in Scotland for 13 years, and I wish there was a Units Overseas chapter in Scotland. It would be interesting if that could happen one of these days, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see about that.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. It's wonderful to hear about your committee. Again, we really want to remind people about signing up for that luncheon, especially if you've never been to Continental Congress before. You must attend the Units Overseas luncheon. And but thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke. And I will say that working together, U.S. daughters and Units Overseas daughters can tie tightly the ribbons of the bow of service and friendship around the globe. And we're counting on you to tie with us. Thanks so much, Brooke.
During last year's Units Overseas luncheon, it was so exciting to get to talk with Caroline McWilliams. You may remember we played that interview in the July 2023 episode of this podcast. Miss McWilliams is one of the first ever juniors to be awarded with the title Outstanding Junior for the Units Overseas chapters. Well, at that same luncheon, we were so pleased that the lovely Paula Eichenbrenner was able to interview Caroline, a member of the Captain James Cook chapter in Australia.
I'm here outside the Units Overseas luncheon with Caroline Corbin. Tell us about yourself, Caroline. So I live in Sydney, Australia. I've been a junior and a member for almost 10 years next year. I'm part of the Captain James Cook chapter, which is now the only chapter in Australia. And I flew all the way for my 3rd Congress.
Oh, and we're so thrilled to have you, not least because you are the Captain James Cook chapter Outstanding Junior and the state runner-up for all of the units overseas Outstanding Junior. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Talk to me about how you keep the juniors in Australia engaged.
Look, we are a really, spread out chapter. We've got members all over the country in a size of land that's not too dissimilar to the US. So it's really hard to engage people. It's really hard to catch people in their busy lives. So the COVID pandemic really found a way for us to explore Zoom and explore connecting with members from all over the country. So we're going to continue to do that well after the pandemic, but we are mixing it in now with more face-to-face events.
That's just fabulous, Caroline. And what about the experience that your unit overseas, Australia, has with the other units overseas here, tying that bow of friendship?
Well, Congress is just the best opportunity to reconnect with everybody and create new friendships and reconnect with old ones. It's an amazing opportunity for units overseas to fundraise and to really share what they're up to, because sometimes we can feel like we're in a bit of a bubble and then no one knows what we're up to, and we're on a bit of an island in the middle of the Pacific.
Quite literally, in your case, yes.
So it's really nice to come here, and it's amazing that we have the committee and that they are based in the US and can reach out to us and support us here, as troops on the ground. But we find these events fantastic, and we always endeavor for someone, it's just me this year, but for someone to come and represent.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
We really enjoyed chatting with you today. Enjoy the rest of your Congress.
Thank you, you too.
We leave you today with this quote. I always start the closing of our episode in this way, but today it needs a bit of information first. In doing some research recently, I came across this article in our DAR magazine archives from 1899. They were at that time in the midst of fundraising for the building of Memorial Continental Hall. Mrs. Manning was the chairman of the building committee. She explained in her article that they had just over $10,000 in cash on hand and $35,000 in bonds. They were in need of $200,000 for the building. Can you imagine the faith, the hope, but then the sheer will and determination to accomplish this goal? Her quote was so stirring. Imagine being a part of our society back then as they looked at this mammoth undertaking. In fact, it's the same as being a daughter now, as we look at this goal for ourselves, the restoration and preservation of our Memorial Continental Hall. Mrs. Manning's words were as follows, and I quote, "Daughters of the American Revolution, if we have the love we profess for those who, under the providence of God, have made us what we are, if we have one ray of hope and desire for the preservation in the hearts of our youth of those principles and institutions our ancestors died to sustain, if we have souls capable of being thrilled and uplifted to proclaim to a listening world the message of our Republic born of God, we shall arise in our patriotic fervor and stay not our hands until this work is done. Daughters of the American Revolution, you are equal to this responsibility. You have shown this in your past. This memorial is assured and will stand strong, enduring, magnificent, pointing to the pure white light of heaven, since you have set forth with a purpose, born of God, on the consecrated road to this achievement." End quote. Wow, what stirring words. Well, thanks for listening, and be well, dear friends. Let's celebrate the stars and stripes forever, and remember, with all of your ancestors behind you, you are the result of the love of thousands. This podcast is written and produced by our incredible team of writers and editors, and we are, as always, so grateful for President General Pamela Edwards Rouse Wright and Historian General Suzanne Heskey for their constant guidance. To Shari Thorne-Sulima, Paula Eichenbrenner, and Caroline Corbin for being so generous with their time. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a non-profit, non-political volunteer women's service organization dedicated to promoting patriotism, preserving American history, and securing America's future through better education for children. Members are all lineal descendants of those who supported the cause of independence in the Revolutionary War. For more information, please visit dar.org. This is the DAR Today podcast.